Hey, this is the McGuire Review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Gandalf the Grey from Asmus Toys. You know, I have been waiting for this one for a long time, and it's been a while since the channel has done a review on a collectible action figure like this. Now, this is one of your more higher-end action figures that, you know, it's one of the companies that make one of the more higher-end action figures. This was purchased through Sideshow.com, and they actually had a partnership with Asmus Toys here on this one specifically. If you purchased it through Sideshow.com, you got some extra staffs as well as a really nice collector base. So that's where I got mine, and what they've done here with the branding on this one is they've actually put the Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies on this Gandalf the Grey. You'll see once we get into it here that the way that they have designed this, and they've done a really, really good job with the design on this one and the look on this one, you really can use this Gandalf and get him posed to represent any of the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit series. And you can do that by the various accessories they've included. You know, if we look at the box here, you know, the back's just got a little bit of artwork on it with Gandalf there fighting the Balrog, and on the front, it's got a nice picture of Gandalf there. And then the sides basically just say 1/6 collectible action figure Gandalf. And the box has got a really nice raised print on where it says The Hobbit and anywhere it says Gandalf. So if we go ahead and get the box open, you'll see right off the bat they get a really nice art insert here of the actual figure. Now this, you know, what you see here isn't the actual figure. These are going to be prints from the movie of Gandalf. This is the actual action figure here, a nice picture of that. And one thing that is really cool about this that I'm not sure that everybody knew, even the people that purchased these, was that this was a limited run. So they only made 1,500 of these, and you'll see that noted right down here at the bottom. And I got number 985 out of 1,500. So that's actually really cool. This is a limited run collectible, so if you got one of these, congratulations, because I'm sure at this point, with only being 1,500 of these that were actually run, and the fact that it was a Gandalf the Grey, which is something that a lot of people have been waiting on for a long time, they probably are not available anymore. Don't quote me on that, because they may still be for purchase through various retail outlets, but more than likely this run has been sold out. And you're going to have to pick it up if you want it through a third-party kind of deal. So what I'm going to do now is get this out, and you want to be careful with this art insert because it is put in there, at least mine is, it's pretty tight the way that it's in there, and you don't want to pull on it real hard trying to get that out and then rip that insert, because, you know, as far as resale value, if you ever were wanting to resell this collectible down the road, you know, this art insert with the actual, you know, number out of 1,500 is going to be part of the value of this particular product. So we're going to take that out really, really easy, and I'm just going to go ahead and set that to the side here and get that out of the way. Now, these types of collectibles are not like your general action figures that come in window box packages and you keep it in the package or you keep it that way. This is definitely a setup where you're going to take the figure out of the box. This is not a leave the figure in the box kind of thing. You'll see that Gandalf stands about a foot tall here, and we'll get him out and do some really good inspection of him here in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get everything out of the box for us so we can take a look at what's included. So that's just a padding at the very top. Here's the Gandalf figure. One of the things that I actually saw when I first got this out and I was looking at the figure, I was taking a look at the hair and how thick the hair was at the back. His scalp is painted gray. There's a gray scalp that kind of matches in with that hair. We'll have some really nice close-up photos here at the end of this, as well as I'm going to do some close-up video on it in the middle of this review when we start actually getting into, you know, him being posed up and the way that he actually looks, as far as going through kind of the quality of the clothing that they put on him as well. But I will say the hair, and don't be surprised by this if you're someone who's actually ordered this, the hair straight out of the box comes, it's very matted and stuck together, and it almost looks like it's kind of chopped and almost like someone took a lighter and kind of burnt it. Don't be worried when you see that. They actually put some gel or some hairspray on the hair to keep it from just frizzing out in the packaging. And you can get yourself a brush or a comb or whatever you want to use, and you can kind of brush that hair out. and it'll thicken up back there on the back, because you're going to want some of that hair to stay with kind of that hairspray on it, because you can actually use that to kind of shape and move the hair in different ways. His beard is not an actual hair, it's a sculpted beard, and I've kind of got mixed feelings on whenever they do sculpted beards like this, because one, the beard looks much better when it's sculpted, and it's much more lifelike. It looks really, really good with the sculpt of his face, which, by the way, is absolutely incredible on this model. I think they just nailed the Gandalf sculpt look, the nose, just everything about it. They absolutely just nailed. The eyes look amazing. They just really did a really good job with the sculpt on this one. And I think if that beard would have been, real hair, much like the hair on his head, it probably would have been very hard to deal with and manage if you wanted to, get it into a certain pose or a certain look. It probably would have been very difficult to keep looking right, whereas the hair is a little different, and he does come with his hat as well, so there's lots of different posing options that you can set up, different scenes from the movies that you can set up with this particular figure. Let's just start right off here. They've got a nice piece of material here to represent kind of that leather belt that he wears. He's got his belt here that holds his sword. It's in a nice blue with some silver work on it. I think they did a fantastic job on the actual whatever he would wear kind of under that main cloak, and he does come with a cloak that's right here. They did a really nice job with it. It's got a really good, it's a high quality material that they used on this one in particular, and they've got some nice, folds in the material that goes all the way across the chest area here. That's already, nicely sewn in for you. You don't have to kind of go in and try to work with it. It already looks really good. They've actually done some work on the material where they've actually taken some, it looks like paint, and painted some areas to kind of rough it up, make it look a little dirty and kind of sun bleached, and it's very, it's a very worn outfit. Underneath with his trousers, those look awesome. Perfect replica from the movies there with the kind of the elvish artwork that's at the bottom. I'm not sure if it's elvish, but it's got like some leaves and some various scripting, and looks really, really good. And the boots look awesome too. I mean, just really, really cool on the boots. Nice leather material, and that actually it does feel like an actual leather on his boot, or a material that looks like leather. This actually, I believe, is very, very thin leather on his boots, and they have his shoelaces actually laced all up. And that boot actually goes up about, you can see it's a pretty good sized boot that goes up his leg, and it's just, it looks really, really nice. I really like that level of detail that they put into it, where they didn't necessarily have to do that. They could have chimped out a little bit on the material that was put on the boot, or they could have sculpted the boot. But they did go with a full material boot, which I thought was a nice touch. The other thing that I would say, and this is kind of the downfall to a sculpted beard, is you're not going to have a lot of head articulation movement. He can move about, we've got about like that, right? That, I mean, you definitely can get up. If you need to get in a pose where he's looking up, but that's about as far as he's going to go. And the one thing that's about a sculpted beard that I don't like is that right there, right? If you're going to go with the look where he is looking up, you're going to have that piece of plastic that's just going to stick out. Versus if it was a full beard made of hair, it would continue to go ahead and lay on the chest part, and it wouldn't have that big gap there. I will say that if you do lift the beard up, they did some really nice cross stitching right under that beard that's actually on the chest of this part of the outfit here, and you're not going to be able to see that until I take some pictures, but that was actually really nice as well. They added that detail as if you were going to be doing some type of pose where you would lift him up. So we're going to go ahead and set him down for a second, and we'll pull out the first of the base, and this just says the Lord of the Rings, so it's just the classic Lord of the Rings base. that he'll come with. We'll get that out of here. And then what we're going to find here is the instructions. So they included a very, very small instruction manual that basically tells you how to put the stone base together. It gives you a warning on the sword. One thing that's nice about this one is the sword is actually die cast. It's not a plastic sword. It is in fact a die cast sword, and it's not sharp obviously, but the tip of it is pretty pointy. And they call that out here in the instruction. They also give you a instruction on how to kind of wrap his sword in the belt they put here, because the clasp, it does look a little odd. I mean, if they wouldn't have included that, it would be pretty tough to figure out, like, how did you use just this random, you know, this random piece that's hanging off his belt right here, and then this just sort of hangs down. You can see it like that. It's like, it's not really a clip that it would go into. So you do have to actually kind of wrap it around the sword as it would have been movie accurate in the movies, which I thought was a really cool touch as well. He does come with a large scarf that you can put on him and he can wear. So let's go right into this. This is his outer cloak, and it's made of the same kind of high quality material as you're going to see on his base outfit here. And it's just the full cloak. It's going to go over him. It's got a nice big hood on it. And you can see that just is going to go right over the top of his head and drape down. And then inside of the box, we've got the main components. And what we're going to see here is a nice plastic insert that they've done that's protecting each one of those. We've got his hat. I really like the material that his hat is made. It's also a very leathery feel, kind of suede material. But the hat looks really good. I'll show you the hat on him here. You can see how you know, it's getting that classic Gandalf look. It does look awesome. But I can't wait to you know, get it posed up, maybe do something where it's kind of cocked to the side a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of a bend in the top part of that hat, just to give him that kind of that iconic feel, or maybe he's just sort of sitting and smoking the pipe. Here is the scarf that's included, and it's made of a very nice material as well. You know, that's one thing that I will really praise Asmus on this one for, is the quality of the actual accessories on this one is really, really high. And I would say, quite frankly, rivals probably any of the other companies out there today that are doing these types of price point on action figures. It definitely rivals it, or if not a little bit better than some of what I've seen in the market. The next item that we have here is his little satchel, his little bag. It's made again of a really nice material, kind of a suede feel to it. It's got a tiny little gray bag attached, so that looks really nice. And more than likely, it does open up, and you can put stuff inside of it. So more than likely, I will probably put his extra hands inside of that bag, just to give that bag a little weight and look like it's actually you know, holding something. We'll go ahead and get into his sword, and this thing is just awesome. I mean, it is a completely metal die-cast sword, and it is pointy. I mean, it's not overly pointy. Maybe it's just mine, or maybe this is the way that it was actually made, but it's interesting. It actually has like some little nicks and dings. Like, it's not perfectly straight, almost like, you know, it looks like it's been in battle, like it's actually gone in and hit other swords and been part of a battle. So I don't know if that's just the way mine was made, or if that was, you know, the way that it's actually supposed to be, but it looks really, really cool. It doesn't look like it's an absolute just perfect mold. There's a little bit of rivet in some of the metal, and there's a ding here or there. So, you know, if that's something that actually was designed into each one of these pieces, again, well done, because just that attention to detail is phenomenal. The hilt looks pretty good. I think, I don't know, they could have done maybe a little bit of a better job on the sculpting, and or not really the sculpting, probably the paint job of the hilt. It feels like the hilt needs a little bit of washing. You know, it's a nice blue as from the movie, but I think if they would have washed this blue a little bit better, it would have brought out a little bit more of the detail. There's like these little rivets that go around in that blue there that grip, and they don't really stand out as much as I think they could have if they would have put a little bit more of a wash on that. So I think they could have done that. The actual sheath here, the sword, looks really, really good, and they have put a decent wash on that sheath to make it kind of look a little grimy and weathered. And they did a really good job with that wash. Specifically how they washed it and where they put the wash on this one looks really, really good. So, again, the sword is just absolutely phenomenal. That may be my favorite accessory because they've done such a good job with it. Again, there are 3 staffs that are included in this, and these are not a hard plastic. They are and I'm not going to bend it too much, but they are a pliable plastic. This one here is the staff from The Hobbit, the newer series that they've made. And that one, he had the curled top staff. It was one of his original staffs, and that was broke when he fought the Necromancer in The Hobbit. And then he obtained this staff here. You know, it's interesting because I haven't found a picture. I've been going back and rewatching all 6 of the films to try to find, is there a scene or somewhere where he actually has a staff that has this bag? If anybody knows, post it in the comments below, because I can't find any pictures from any of the movies and or scenes where he has this. I know when he has the staff, but when he actually has the staff with this little bag attached. I really like that touch. I don't know if they just kind of added that in as their own little kind of flair to this staff here. This is probably the staff that I will use just because I really like that little bag that hangs off. And then here, the last one is the one that you're going to see pretty much from the Lord of the Rings series. This is the staff that he's going to have. And again, he doesn't actually add this crystal until they, within the Fellowship of the Ring, when they go through the mines, when they have to actually travel through the mines. This is when there's actually a little quick cutscene. Most people haven't caught that, but right when the doors to the mine open, right as Gandalf is walking in, you'll see him reach. He'll like reach into his pocket and he pulls out this crystal, and he actually sticks the crystal in the top of the staff. And that's how that gets there. Because a lot of people ask, well, sometimes you look at a staff and it doesn't have the crystal, and then sometimes it's got this big crystal in it. It's actually because he places it there and takes it out. So that's how it gets there. And they used a really nice little plastic that's it's oval shaped, almost like an egg, but it's got little edges and cuts in it, so it really reflects the light really, really well, and that just really looks good. I really like this staff. And this will be the staff that I would use, obviously, with his sword if I wanted to put him in that fighting the Balrog scene. When he's getting ready to pull out his sword, or he's getting ready to, bring down the "You shall not pass." I mean, there's lots. That's what I love about this. There's just so many things you can do to pose here, and this is just going to be your stand here that you put in your stand, or you'll be able to place in your bigger stand here, and I'll pull that out now. That has just a simple base here, and there's a little screw that's included right here. You just thread that little screw into this black base here, and then you can thread it right into the bottom of this rock. And this is just it's a piece of plastic, but it's a nicely sculpted, painted. It looks really, really good, and they really gave it the feel from the rock in those mines that you see. And on the back here, they've actually got a nice little sticker that they stuck on it that just says, Gandalf, Asmus Toys 2016. And it's just on the very back. And then this here is going to attach right in like that. And that's going to be able to hold Gandalf. But I really like the fact they included this. I just think it looks so awesome. It's so much better than just your standard. I mean, this is cool. It says Lord of the Rings. It's kind of the classic look, and a lot of collectors just like that classic when they go for just the museum poses, where they're not going to be a dynamic pose, it's just going to basically be him just standing there. That type of collector and that museum pose look is probably going to go with something like this, where you've got this option if you're going for something a little bit more dynamic. I just think it looks so good, and you can see there. you know, him standing up on this is actually going to give him a lot more height as well. So, you know, he's about 11.5, 12 inches tall, just standard with this actual action figure. You know, once you get him up on this stand, I mean, he's gaining another probably 4 inches. So, you know, that's going to look pretty epic when you get him up on top of this. The last things that we're going to see here are going to be his pipe. He comes with a very nice little pipe. You know, the pipe's okay. I think they could have done a little bit more detail on the pipe, in my opinion. It definitely looks like a piece of plastic. I'll say that. You know, in comparison to some of these staffs, and specifically the sword, the detail they put on the sword is just off the charts. But I will say the pipe does kind of just look like a plastic accessory. I think the paint job, the paint apps that are on it are fine. I think they could have done a little bit better job with, you know, actually what's inside the pipe. They did some sculpting inside the pipe to make it look like there was some tobacco in there. And they did some paint apps inside of there as well. But I think they could have done a little bit of a more detailed paint job inside the pipe, as well as maybe outside the pipe, or maybe it's just, for me, you see the little plastic line that goes down the side on each of them, and that's just where the mold would have, you know, the plastic would have been injected into the mold and the mold came off. You really can sort of see a little bit of a line, not as much on one side, but on the other side, you definitely can see it where that mold comes together. That kind of stuff, I don't know. That kind of stuff for me really stands out. I don't know. I really seem to pick up on those kind of things. But again, once you got them all posed up and, you know, in a nice pose, holding that pipe with the hand that's made to hold that pipe, which is right here, you're never gonna really see that, and it's gonna look really good, and it does look really good posed up in this hand. And the hands, you know, we'll go right into the hands. The hands are very very pliable material. They have an excellent paint job on them. I mean, the hands, when you look at the actual hands, the paint job on the hand is phenomenal. All the little wrinkles, the imperfections in his skin, the veins in his hand, it's all done very, very well. The fingernails, in my opinion, look okay. I think they could have done a little bit better job with the paint job on the fingernails. They do have them kind of painted up. They're kind of a little grimy. Again, they're going to look perfect when he's all posed up. You're not, you know, it's only gonna, when you're right on top of it. I think they could have done a little bit of a better job with the fingernails. And the only other thing I'll say with the hands, and this one in particular isn't too bad at all, but some of these, let's see here, this one and this one, and that's all of our accessories. So he does come with 3 extra hands. You know, you definitely can see when the hands were molded, there's some plastic flare kind of left where that mold was on the hand, and that really bugs me. You know, when I look at the hand, the actual paint job on, you know, the base part of the hand here is just so good. But if you look, you know, in some of these gripped hands, really kind of in that center between, you know, the index finger and the thumb, just a little plastic kind of flaring, kind of the edge where the mold sort of pressed together around those areas. And, you know, some of those fingers, like on this, the grip, the thumb and the index finger, the middle finger, they are kind of, I wouldn't say webbed, but they are kind of stuck together, and they're made that way. But we'll see what it looks like once it's all put together with a hand kind of around something, how it looks. And you'll see from the pictures here just how high quality these hands actually are. I'm probably just being a little bit too much of a nitpicky on that, but you know, you'll see from the pictures, and you can make your comments below and judge for yourself. So let's get in and do a little bit of a closer review here on some of these components. You can see the base Lord of the Rings set there. Here's this really nice scarf that they've included. You can see kind of the quality on the stitching of that and what that really looks like. Really, really nice component. Here's our little bag that was included that has that smaller gray bag sort of attached to the side of it. Again, that's probably where I will store those hands. Here's one of the hands here holding that pipe, and you can see that, but you can see the quality on the paint job on those hands, and again some of that plastic flaring you can see kind of in between those two fingers there that I was talking about. But you know, just ignoring that, the veining and the paint job on those hands is absolutely phenomenal. Let's grab another one of those hands here and see that up close. And there's probably the one that I had the biggest problem with. But again, once it's gripping something, that little plastic fringe there along the edge of the fingers is probably not going to be as noticeable. But really, when you look at, and even the paint job, you can see that around the knuckles as well as into the fingers is a little redder, and it's almost like he's really gripping something pretty tight. So they did a really fantastic paint job on those actual hands. Here's the die-cast sword. So if we take a look at Gandalf here, here's his other staff, that little bag that's attached. Looks really good. You can see the sculpt, how dead on that is. Just look at that. Very, very well done. Very well done. Just get a quick look here at the rest of his clothing. You can see here how they did a really, really good job putting in, you know, some of the dirt they kind of painted in to make the outfit look, you know, kind of weathered, where it's not just a solid gray. It's got some browns that are actually painted into that. And then you can see that boot there and the quality of that boot, that nice leather, and those laces that are actually put right there on the boot. So, you know, really, really well done. I can't say enough about it. It is very, very awesome. Congrats to those who were able to get one of the 1500. Let's get right into a quick articulation review here. If we look at Gandalf, you know, I was really impressed with the articulation on this model, specifically for the, you know, the outfit that he's wearing. Generally, when you see these models that have these, you know, bulkier, more detailed type cloaks and outfits, they really don't have a lot of articulation on these legs, and you'll be surprised here. They actually took the seams up really, really high, and I'm glad they did. You'll see how high he can kick up there. That's really good. Going out to the side, a full 90 degrees up and out. So that's really, really nice. He's got a single jointed knee. It's sort of, yeah, he's got a single jointed knee, but again, because of that hip joint having so much movement, that's really all he needs. I mean, he literally can take that foot almost over his shoulder. So the amount of range of articulation that you have on this particular model is really, really good. The ankle has full rotation and pivot. The wrists have full rotation and pivot. You got a double jointed elbow, and you have a nice ball joint in the in the shoulder there. The only thing that I will say on this model where it does feel a little loose is in that that upper ball joint there in the shoulder. It just, you know, if you really wanted to get him up really, really high, and you'll see as I let that go, it does fall down just a little bit, but it's not going any further than that. And that would hold the weight of something if you wanted to hold that up in the air. Time will tell kind of on that one as far as how much weight he'd be able to hold. But just for example, as putting that staff in his hand, that's not taking that joint anywhere. But again, as it sits over time and gravity does its thing, I am a little worried that that may start to kind of fall if you have him in sort of that, you know, you shall not pass when he's fighting the Balrog and you got him set up on this. Gravity may have its toll on that, depending on how you set him up and how high you put that arm out versus kind of pulling it back and giving it a little bit, you know, a little bit of a stiffer stance. So I'll just have to see, right? Time will tell on that one. The amount of articulation that you get with this guy blows me away. And you can do a quick test here. You can kind of push the shoulders and the elbows, kind of push those elbows in and bring it up, and you can see how tight he can get to the body and really pull them shoulders and those forearms into the body. It just, even with all this clothing, they really did this well. I mean, as far as the articulation, so you know, well done on that. I think they did a great job, and I'm sure that he is going to have an enormous amount of positions and posing he's going to be able to do with all this level of articulation. So really well done. That's Asmus Toys Gandalf the Grey, and you can already see, you know, how good this guy looks. I mean, this is just a very basic little pose. I just stuck him in really quick. You can see just how good this figure looks, how high quality is. I am very pleased with this. I'm so glad that I actually got one of these. And I hope some of you guys out there got one of these as well. So go ahead and put in the comments below what you think about this figure. Again, we're going to have some highly detailed pictures here at the very end. And obviously we had some video clips in between the review to kind of get some close-ups on him and see what he really looks like. So Asmus Toys, keep it up. I want to see more from this line. If you're interested in this line, I highly recommend looking into it. They've done a really good job for this price point. There you go, Gandalf the Grey that we've all been waiting for, and I'm so glad that I got it. Hit that like, click the subscribe to join. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time.